This episode of Just Seen It, we review from director Terrence Malick, To the Wonder.
And you say I can't command my emotions. They come and go like clouds.
It's still lush, it's still cinematic, it still has moments of genuine emotion, and I really enjoyed it.
We discuss stand-up guys with screenwriter Noah Haidle.
Can I say a Hail Mary and be done here?
I don't think you can Hail Mary your way out of this one.
You're right.
I didn't know that anyone would read it, let alone be made, and let alone with like 3 Oscar-winning film icons.
And the remake of the horror classic Evil Dead.
I gave her a sedative, so she should be out for a couple of hours.
We should have left when Mia wanted to.
Baby, please. Okay, let's not lose our heads.
Well, that's the best setup of a horror film that I've actually seen in the past 10 years, is rationalizing not leaving a cabin in the woods because of a drug addiction.
All right here on Just Seen It. Neil and Marina fall in love in France. Wanting to be together, Marina and her daughter return with Neil to Oklahoma. But a struggling priest and childhood friend complicate their lives in To the Wonder.
Hi, I'm Sean.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Liz. Today we're here to talk about Terrence Malick's latest film, To the Wonder. We've all just seen it. Sean, why don't you start us off?
So, Terrence Malick, of course, has made quite a name for himself with only 6 movies, and he took a 20-year gap between his second film, Days of Heaven, and his third film, The Thin Red Line. And this being his 6th film, it's still lush, it's still cinematic, it still has moments of genuine emotion, and I really enjoyed it. That being said, I do think it will probably go down as a lesser Terrence Malick film, but a lesser Terrence Malick film is still something to behold.
Surprisingly enough, I actually liked this film, and I am not...
Why is it surprising?
I don't like art films. I normally, as Liz can attest, I like films where the plot is very clear, where there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. I feel like I'm moving through something. I like things that have like a quicker pace to them, and this doesn't have some of those things, but I actually still really enjoyed it a lot. It's thematically really interesting. I don't feel like it's so much of a narrative about the characters. I don't feel that emotionally invested in the characters, but I was watching this movie that sort of shows like how love works between people.
What I loved about the film were the questions that were unanswered. They have 4 main characters. They have Neil, they have Marina, they have this woman from Neil's childhood played by Rachel McAdams, and then they have a priest played by Javier Bardem. And the subplot of the priest doesn't really interconnect with the rest of the story, and that creates a lot of frustration in the audience and a lot of longing, and it works really well with the longing that Olga Kurylenko's character is feeling for Neil.
Love is a command, and you say I can't command my emotions. They come and go like clouds. To that Christ that says, you shall love whether you like it or not.
The examination that Malick makes in a lot of his films could be deemed spiritual.
Yes.
So, I mean, The Tree of Life is basically about this whole expanse of creation from life to death, and does suggest, for most people, myself included, there's something else out there at the end of the film. I was a little bit wondering if the priest had something to do, or should have had something to do with the main plot as well. He does interconnect a little bit at the very end of the movie, but you don't really know what he's doing and why within that relationship.
It had very broad themes, but it did feel human, just like all the little quirky things that these characters did, even though I didn't empathize directly with them because there was that distance and there wasn't a lot of straight back and forth dialogue. I still felt like these were very real representations of human beings.
That's sweet love. At last.
If we know Olga Kurylenko from anything, it's from the James Bond film Quantum of Solace. So it's interesting to see her go from a James Bond film here to a Terrence Malick film.
She's absolutely sprite-like, she's childlike, she's just this very free spirit. And she does Like, I could relate to her, even though there is this distance between the characters, because these weird, funny little things she does when she's in...
Like biting?
In Love Lust, like her biting thing.
She likes to bite things.
Or her grabbing thing, or just some of these sort of animalistic, cutesy things that you don't see heroine characters doing.
So at the centerpiece of our film, we have Neil, played by Ben Affleck, and he's the middle of this love triangle, and we never really find out why the two women are so obsessed and so in love with him.
He made Argo.
Yeah.
Is that it?
That's it.
That must be it.
And on a serious note, though, I feel like that's another one of those really interestingly explored themes where it's just like, do women just create this picture in their mind, place it on someone else? Ben Affleck couldn't have been more of like, his character needed to be that way. A blank page. And they just wrote on him and they're like, I love this thing. And then halfway through, they're like, you know what? I don't. Because I don't even know this man. I felt like that was why the love story fizzled, which I thought was intriguing.
Perhaps almost as interesting as the people on screen are the people that didn't make the final cut of this picture. You have Jessica Chastain, Rachel Weisz, Amanda Peet, Michael Sheen, Barry Pepper were all in this movie at one point but got cut.
Maybe they just weren't very good actors.
That is a lot. Don't say that about Jessica Chastain.
I'm kidding.
But this is kind of the way Terrence Malick makes movies. Is he just shoots footage upon footage upon footage, and not everything makes the final cut because it doesn't all fit in with what he's trying to say. People were left on the cutting room floor in The Thin Red Line as well. A lot of famous actors. Terrence Malick has worked with the same cinematographer on his last 3 films, Emmanuel Lubezki, and I think his work is just amazing. It's handheld for most of it, very free-flowing, and he can just make anything look beautiful. You never go into a laundromat and go, wow, I'm in a laundromat, this looks amazing. Does in this movie, I thought it just looked gorgeous. Everything in this movie makes it look like it's larger than life, like you've never seen it before in your life.
It was beautiful, and what was interesting about the style of the film is that our female characters are always shot from the perspective of Ben Affleck's character. And I like that it takes us into the personal with the camera.
For Terrence Malick fans, and for people who like to dabble in the confusion of life, I really enjoyed this movie. But I think for the general population who wants a beginning, middle, and end, I'm going to give it a stream it.
To the Wonder is a beautiful, sad film, though at times it feels a little heavy-handed and long. For Malick fans, it's a definite see it.
It's easy to recommend To the Wonder to fans of Terrence Malick or anyone interested in his work. So I'm going to say, see it. Cheers. To The Wonder.
To the Wonder.
Scene 1, take 2, marker.
My name is Leah Aldridge, and I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. My favorite film is The Godfather by Francis Ford Coppola, 1972, Paramount Pictures. There have been a lot of films that have come out since then, and nothing has come close to dethroning The Godfather. I love being a reviewer on Just Seen It because I think, as passionate as I am about film and television, I feel a sense of service and obligation in helping the consumer cut through all the garbage that's out there. And I take that role very seriously, and I appreciate being able to do that on Just Seen It.
Hi, I'm David.
I'm Noah.
And I'm Liz, and we're here today to talk with Noah Haidle, screenwriter for Stand Up Guys.
You did your time like a man, Val. You were stand-up all the way.
You and Doc would have done the same.
Well, I would like to think so.
It's possible. Either way is possible. But you did it, Val. True.
Were you in any way writing the script with envisioning these actors as the characters?
No. I mean, I wrote this a couple years ago, and I didn't know that anyone would read it, let alone be made, and let alone with like 3 Oscar-winning film icons. There'd been a lot of false starts. There'd been a lot of people attached and then falling off. So finally, they said, we got a start date, it's in April, and this is the cast. I knew these producers pretty well, and they didn't want to give me hope that would go away.
Right.
So they called me and said, this is it, we got a start date, like, here we go.
So how did you feel when, they call you up and they say, guess what?
Yeah.
Al Pacino, Alan Arkin, Christopher Walken, those are your 3 guys. Those are your stand-up guys.
People speak of shock, being in shock. It's when something occurs that's outside of their imagination, or what they expect to be possible. You see a car accident, you're like, whoa, is really? It just shouldn't be there. It's a fact of the world. It should not be there.
Real hardball question. What were your inspirations when you were writing Stand Up Guys?
I was living in New York at the time, and I happened to find myself on the Coney Island or Brighton Beach boardwalk very early in the morning. And it was March, and it was kind of cold. And I was on a bench, and there was a man, an older guy, and he was painting a sunrise. And I just watched him. I was like, oh, that's crazy. And I just imagined what he did for the rest of his day. And that person ended up being played by Christopher Walken. And so
the film starts out with him painting and it ends with him with the painting.
That's true, it does.
Right. At what point did the cast come on? And how much did they depart from the script in the shooting of Stand Up Guys?
Because it seems like there was a lot of improvisation in terms of me watching them, how they interplayed together.
Some scenes specifically, they hauled off on. But for the most part, it was pretty, I'd say mostly faithful.
You actually got to meet them, right?
Yeah, I was on set the whole time. It was really neat.
So tell us what it was like being with the three guys.
So at that point, I was out of any contractual obligations to have me rewrite, or I'd done a polish and stuff. And so basically I thought, oh, wow, thank you very much. Like, maybe I can come hang around once. About 2 weeks later, Tom Rosenberg and Fisher Stevens, the director, called me and just said, no, we rewrote this scene. Like, why don't you take a look at it? And if you let me say what you want to say about it. So I looked at it, I was like, oh, went like that. Typed it, sent it back, and about an hour later, Tom called and said, yours is better, let's keep going. And so from that day in January till April 9th when we started shooting, like I worked every day, I think. Wow. Sometimes I would talk to him 2-3 times a day.
The entire production process.
Yes.
What was your biggest surprise?
The producer, Tom, called me up and said, Haidle, you're never going to believe this. We gave the script to Bon Jovi. He read it and the same day wrote a song, and we're going to use it for the end credits of the song.
Just
the
like
end credits
that.
of the movie. Yeah. Here it is in your email. Just like that. So it was Saturday morning. I remember it was snowing outside, and it was before I'd had coffee. I sit down at a kitchen table and open up my email, and there's the end credit song, which is called Old Habits Die Hard, and it was Bon Jovi singing into his phone. Wow. I was like, this is going to be crazy.
I noticed a lot of quotations in the film from They Live, and I really want to know the origin. All the characters repeat over and over again of come here to, kick ass and chew bubblegum.
It's time to kick ass or chew gum. And guess what? I'm all out of gum.
If it's from something, that's the first I've heard of it. Number two, I got it from my freshman year roommate, Andrew Sepiele. What's up, Andrew? At Princeton. And I remember very distinctly being in the dorm room. He was an engineering major. He said, I'm going to go to that exam and do two things. I'm going to kick ass and chew gum, and I'm all out of gum.
This is really interesting to me because people are going to read 15 million things into your film, and you brought it from personal experience.
Hey, Val.
Yeah.
It's like the old days, isn't it?
No, it's better.
So tell us, what's next for you?
March 29th, a play of mine is going into previews at South Coast Repertoire in Orange County.
What's the name of the play?
It's called Smokefall. And then I'm attached to direct a movie I wrote. It's called The Rodeo Clown. And it's being produced by Ren Arthur, who runs a production company, Olive Productions, with Steve Buscemi and Stanley Tucci.
Very cool. Well, as is tradition here at Just Seen It, we like to end up with a cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Noah.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
It's really nice.
The film world is saddened by the loss of Roger Ebert, the most prominent and prolific film critic of this generation. Ebert was a 46-year veteran of the Chicago Sun-Times, was the first film critic to win the Pulitzer Prize, and of course, was our inspiration here at Just Seen It. Just like any film lover, Ebert had a list of favorite films. Oftentimes, Ebert did say that lists are ridiculous and ultimately meaningless. However, he did participate every decade in Sight and Sound's critics poll of the greatest movies of all time. His most recent list came out in 2012, and so for our DVD pick of the week, I've chosen two of my favorite films from that list. First is Apocalypse Now, from director Francis Ford Coppola. Released in 1979, this is considered to be one of the quintessential films about Vietnam, not only for its ability to capture the horror and confusion of the time, but also for its cinematic prowess.
Smell that? You smell that? Napalm, son! Nothing else in the world smells like that. I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
And second is 2001: A Space Odyssey, the 1968 film from legendary director Stanley Kubrick. Ebert couldn't have described it better when he said that 2001 is not concerned with thrilling us, but with inspiring our awe. To this day, it is heralded for its special effects and its unique storytelling. But don't take my word for it. Check out these 2 films as well as the other 8 on Ebert's list and find out why the greatest movie critic of our time loved these better than all the rest. Thanks, Roger. We'll miss you.
Scene 1, take 1, marker.
I'm David Friedman, and I am from both New York and California. My favorite movie is Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it's because it does exactly what I think a movie should do, and that is make you forget who you are, that you're sitting in a theater, that you're watching a movie, and for 2 hours, Raider just transported me to another place. I just had a big goofy smile on my face the entire time. The reason why Just Seen It is so important to me is that I grew up with Siskel and Ebert. I didn't feel like there was any review shows on TV or even on the web that had picked up from where they had left off. And now that Just Seen It is on the air, I'd like to think that we are honoring their memory.
5 friends discover an ancient book in a remote cabin.
Nobody said this is gonna be easy.
Reading from the book, they accidentally summon a powerful demon.
You are all going to die tonight.
As the demon attacks them, they struggle to survive in Evil Dead.
Hi, I'm Sean.
I'm Brenna.
And I'm Liz.
And we're going to talk about Evil Dead, the remake of Sam Raimi's The Evil Dead. We've all just seen it. Who wants to talk about the evil?
Well, it's very different from the original. I think we should just get that out of the way right now because the original film is campy and fun and goofy and...
Are you trying to say this isn't campy, fun, and goofy?
I am, yes. That is what I'm saying, yes.
This incarnation of Evil Dead is about 5 20-somethings who go to a cabin in the middle of the woods to help one of them recover from drug addiction. And while they're there, one of them finds a book that says, "Don't read me," so then they read it, and demons come, and bad things happen.
Well, that's the best setup of a horror film that I've actually seen in the past 10 years, is rationalizing not leaving a cabin in the woods because of a drug addiction.
Mm-hmm.
That made the movie
That's
for
good.
me. It set up and started off on a very positive note.
She's going cold turkey, and she says, I want to leave. And they say, no, you
We
can't
won't let
leave
you leave.
because you have to go cold turkey.
And the fact that she has overdosed before and the stakes are really high and she's actually died before and they brought her back through a defibrillator, it brought it home.
That's pretty much where the logic and the rationality and the good story structure ends.
My biggest problem with the movie, perhaps I'm angry with the marketing campaign, where the poster says, the most terrifying film you will ever experience is plastered all over the posters. And to be quite frank, I didn't think the film was very scary. It trades that tension basically for gigantic amounts of blood and gore. There must have been gallons and gallons and gallons of fake blood on the set of this picture.
Another problem with the film is that the mythology of why these characters are being punished or killed off or the reason for these demons or the reason for the book isn't really there. I mean, usually in like, we all know in like 70s horror, there'll be like a scene where 2 characters are having sex and then they'll get killed because they were being immoral in their actions.
Premarital sex.
Right, but there's these characters who are actually in a cabin all trying to do the right thing, trying to help their friend become clean, and none of them are bad and none of them have really done anything horribly wrong with their lives.
I gave her a sedative, so she should be out for a couple of hours. We should have left when Mia wanted to.
Baby, please. Okay, let's not lose our heads, okay? With any luck, it'll stop raining in a couple hours, and we'll be able to cross the creek in the morning, and we'll take her to a hospital.
It didn't explain the rules to me
Yeah.
as well as it could have, or it's a very thin explanations of the rules. Basically, you have a book, and the book is not only outlining how people get possessed. It's also telling you how to destroy those people that get possessed, which I'm confused why a
it tells
book
you
of
how
evil...
to cause the evil in the first place.
Yeah, why a book that would tell you both things. Here, you can have the evil, which is what you want, which is what we want as demons, but you can also get rid of it.
Well, they're
We'll tell
fair
you
demons,
why.
you know?
They're fair.
They're being extensive in their documentation of their possession.
Listen, you gotta get out of those clothes.
I did think Jane Levy, who played our main character of Mia, was pretty good. She had the task of acting like a possessed woman, and she was derailed. She was wonderful. She was chaotic and scary. And then when she played the counterpart, Mia, unpossessed, she was vulnerable and sweet and
A lot of range
shaky.
in that character, yeah. I mean, you've got basically drugged out Mia, you've got possessed Mia, you've got young, innocent, quirky Mia.
She's the only character with character development.
Well, David, her brother, actually has a lot of arc
attempt.
written into the storyline.
They try.
But he did not play those elements in his performance.
Right, Shiloh Fernandez plays David. I thought he was fine, but the story sort of tries to throw this emotion at his character, and without it really being relevant to the plot, I just kind of didn't care.
So this film is directed by Fede Alvarez, and it's actually his first feature, which is really unusual to take on such a well-known franchise as a first-time feature filmmaker.
He's got a lot of horror shorts, so I think that they felt that he could handle it, and I think that was not misplaced trust, because he seems to know what he's doing with the camera. He has a lot of interesting shots set up, a lot of extreme angles. Like there's one that's even upside down and then rights itself.
Mm-hmm.
And he's good at setting up the shots that are supposed to be scary.
Whether it's him or the script, I feel like most of the scares are telegraphed. And it's just a lot of style that just is neat to look at, but doesn't really get you in the mood of being in a horror film.
Yeah.
Mia, put the gun down. Put the gun down, please.
I think the sound design was really special, because there's a couple instances where
characters are cutting their cheeks off.
Characters are cutting their face off, but you don't see it. So if you're familiar with Evil Dead, you know what's happening when you're hearing that sound. And if you're not familiar with Evil Dead, you're going, I wonder what that sound is. And it just sounds great. So if you know, you're just like, oh. And they reveal it, and you're like, oh, that's what that sound was. So there's little things like that I think are really awesome.
If you enjoy massive buckets of blood, then Evil Dead is for you. I just don't think anyone else is going to care. Skip it.
So those gore fans who are unfamiliar with Evil Dead can enjoy it for a horror film, and those who are familiar can enjoy the nods to it. So I say stream it.
Please, please, please just rewatch the original movie. And as far as this Evil Dead goes, skip it.
Well, our vote's set up to a half ticket, which is a skip it for Evil Dead. Cheers.
Cheers.
To Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell.
Yay!
Scene one, take one, marker.
My name is Rachel Applebaum, and I am from Cleveland, Ohio, the best place on earth. Groundhog Day is my favorite movie, I think, just because it was so funny and silly the way it's done. I don't feel like it's been done that many times before, and also I saw it as a little kid, so maybe it was newer and glossier to me then, but it was one of the first movies I can remember really laughing hysterically at. I really love the people who I review with. I like the fact that I've seen more movies in the last year than I've ever seen in my whole life. I have a wider view of how to enjoy a movie and what makes a movie good, and I think that's really valuable.
Steve Buscemi, co-star of the incredible Burt Wonderstone, has had a long career in Hollywood, but he first garnered attention as a regular for the Coen brothers, with appearances in Barton Fink, Miller's Crossing, Fargo, and The Big Lebowski.
He had a smaller role in one of the Coens' lesser-known films, The Hudsucker Proxy, just released on Blu-ray. The Hudsucker Proxy stars Tim Robbins as a naive business school graduate who, with a single innovative idea, becomes the president of a manufacturing company.
Take a look at this sweet baby. I developed it myself. Yes, sirree, this is my ticket upstairs. You know, for kids.
Along with Robbins and Buscemi, the cast includes Jennifer Jason Leigh and the legendary Paul Newman.
The Coens were inspired by a great number of films while making The Hudsucker Proxy. The films of Frank Capra, like Mr. Deeds Goes to Town and It's a Wonderful Life, and the works of Preston Sturges, Christmas in July and Sullivan's Travels, which coincidentally is about a director, John Sullivan, who makes comedies, but he wants to make a serious film called Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Now, when the Coens made their film Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?, they've stated it's what fictional director John Sullivan might have made.
The Hudsucker Proxy bombed at the box office in 1994, but now it's out on high definition for you to own. If you're a Coen Brothers fan, it's well worth checking out. You know,
for kids. On our next episode, we review the sports drama 42, based on the true story of Jackie Robinson. We discuss At Any Price, starring Zac Efron and Dennis Quaid, and we do a retrospective on the career of director Baz Luhrmann and a preview of his new film, The Great Gatsby. Thanks for watching, and see you next week.
Then I'm doing a musical called Stand Up Guys and Dolls.
Just kidding.
No, come on, I would love that.